and I'm at Eslie the Greater, or Elsie the Greater, as I say sometimes. It's too hot. It's about 20 degrees, so it's officially, for Scottish people, it's too hot. And I'm just going to have a quick walk through here. So just to mention a couple of things about this circle. What's interesting is, if you do a wee bit of a Google map look, or a kind of bird's eye view of Eslie the Greater, is it's only, if I kind of point vaguely in that direction, 9 Staines is 750 metres over there, and Eslie the Lesser is 760 metres over there. And I went for a wee walk north of 9 Staines in the hope of finding a potential square of these 3 circles plus a lost one. And I found some stones, but probably just a boulder field, so maybe a bit of a kind of wild goose chase. But this is an excellent stone to visit. The road's just up there, and there's a convenient passing bay just there. The gate is a little bit rickety to get over, but apart from that, it's just a walk through the field, maybe give it 30 metres or so to the circle. The circle has actually got a kind of boundary wall that's been built, probably from cairn stones or circle stones round about it. It's elevated because the base cairn pretty much still exists. The field is the number of times I've been here, this is probably the 5th, it's always been cattle or sheep or whatever has been round about here. So, but I suspect when it has been ploughed and used as a crop field, that the circle's been well protected. So let's have a little walk through. It's a little bit uneven because a lot of the cairn stones are still kicking around. There used to be reports of, well, the documentation kind of suggests that the circle is pretty much as you see it today, apart from there was maybe documentation or suggestions of 12 stones altogether. And then there was documentation of 11 stones, and now we're down to 8. And that might be because, well, this arc here, they're kind of missing. 4 stones are pretty much in that arc missing. And they might have been toppled over to make the kind of embankment for what to kind of save the fallout of the cairn stones and such out into the field, is perhaps the reason for the couple of the circle stones to be missing. So, what we can say about the recumbent. The recumbent's also got a bit of a split in it, like 9 Staines has, kind of top to bottom, front to back, but we'll come to that in a wee minute. So let's have a look round the stones then. So all the stones that are here are standing, there's none fallen, there's just a couple missing. And then once we've had a look round the stones, we'll have a wee look into the central cairn, because that's where apparently some bones were found. Not really sure if they were human bones or what bones they were, but there was bones being found, I think, in the central cairn. And Cole had a bit of an excavation and look around here while he was at 9 Staines, I think, as well. So, number 1 stone, this is the west flanker. The orientation of the circle is pretty much south, maybe southwest, maybe, but pretty much south, as you can tell with the sun beating on it just now. So number 1 stone, some nice dark quartz in it there. It's about, if I'm standing next to it, it's pretty much at my kind of eye level. It looks like to me that it's had a fair bit of damage, to be honest. Maybe this back side and this top certainly, but it looks to me like it had at one point a bit of a shape to it. Sort of flat front, flat side, what might have been a flat back, but there's maybe a section missing. but you're talking maybe just under the metre wide and maybe just 1.5, 1.6 metres tall. Again, there's a little bit of a kind of shape to it. Seems to be standing on its own, within its own socket. Number 2 stone then, the recumbent, is just shy of 3 metres long. It has a little bit of a, it's not completely flat, there's a bit of a kind of bulbous bit to it. It's not completely flat on the top, there's a kind of a bulge to it at the top. At the back it's fairly flat, however. So it's not the widest recumbent. Let's have a look. It's it's maybe 700mm at its widest. But there is evidence of this top section here. You can see there's a crack which happens to go all the way down. If we go around the front, it's even more evident. That crack coming down. There's even mismatches in the level in the stone. So it looks like there's a crack, maybe even a couple of cracks actually down the centre section. There's no kind of documentation suggesting that there's been a lot of plantations round about here, but there's no suggestion why there couldn't have been. Nine Staines has been heavily planted with trees since Cole was at it. It was 120 years ago, so this could have been planted as well. So again, the stone might have had some damage from fallen trees or such. And again, the kind of the angle, it seems to be angled a little bit back, as both the flankers seem to be. It might have been a wee bit more perpendicular to the ground. It might be fallen back for, the excavations done to the cairn, I don't know, but it just seems to be kind of fallen back into the circle a little bit there. So stone number 3 then, a bit of a tombstone. Relatively flattish apart from a couple of crops there on the back, flattish front. A good maybe 1.5 wide, maybe half a metre, 600mm deep, but quite a flat side, 4-sided stone. If I'm on the outside of the circle, it's pretty much up to my belly kind of size. So a nice recumbent setting, and we'll go through to stone number 4. So stone number 4 is a little bit of a walk, so you'd expect there's maybe been a stone here in between, and you might think that might be it, but it's not been identified as one. So stone 4 is all the way across here, and it's a good metre deep, metre wide at the base. So it's a chunk of a stone. Now you could go, oh, it's a pointed stone, no bother, but again the kind of shape to me suggests that it might have been actually a bit more square. There's maybe a whole chunk missing here, but again it could equally been that's the shape it was meant to be. So that's stone number 4, and stone number 5. You can see as I walk round, the embankment goes from the recumbent side. It's pretty much level with the field. This side it's starting to get steeper. So some of the stones might have been used to shore that up. So all the way around to almost the back of the circle, you can see there's the recumbent there. So I'm pretty much at the back of the circle almost. And we stone number 5, just up to my waist. A slab of a stone, handspan wide maybe, half a metre at the base. Clearly had a fair bit of damage. And then there's a bit of a gap in the arc till the stone number 6. And you can see this shoring up has got some pretty significant stones. I mean, you would pretty much suggest that was a circle stone for sure. It maybe just been pushed back to shore this up, or just had been fallen. Hard to tell, but you could, if you pulled that back up and found a socket there, you wouldn't be surprised, to be completely honest. And the same the one I'm standing on. It's been noted that the cairn was heavily robbed, although I'm struggling to walk across it. It's that lumpy. But I think like most cairns it's been heavily robbed. There's a lot of stone, it's a field obviously, there's a lot of stone dikes up and down here, so you can imagine. And Eslie, the lesser is up there, just 700 metres away. And again, you might be forgiven that that's one of the stones from the circle stones. Could easily be, but it's right out on the perimeter of the field. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is stone number 6. Again, this is height wise, it's pretty much up to the top of my chest, about a metre wide at the base. Inside the circle, it's maybe a little bit less on the outside. It seems to be tapered a little bit on the outside, half a metre wide maybe. A tapered square shape at the base for sure, for stone number 6. Number 7, a wee bit higgledy-piggledy with this one, I think. A bit more flat-faced on the outside, on the inside. And if I drop down to the field level, a bit flat-faced there as well. Describe it as maybe a bit of a slab, although it's kind of whitish. Again, quite pointed. Could forgive that maybe to being shaped or damaged. It is definitely coming away at its socket. Look at that. It's just that's eroded away. So on the inside of the circle, it looks like it's well embedded, which it is. But on the outside of the circle, it's just like you could just pull it away with your hands, and it would be fairly unstable. And then stone 8. This is quite this is probably the most pictured stone at the circle, because you get that jaunty angle with the hills at the back. Classic kind of, that's a classic view you get for that one. So again, it's probably looking like it could probably do with a little bit of shoring up here on the outside of the circle. A slab certainly, and I could probably see that's where it's maybe been originally buried. It could be that a lot of these circle stones have simply fallen because what happens with fields, especially in the last sort of 200 years, is the level of the field gets lowered as you redistribute with the ploughing effect year after year after year. So what you get then is the stone circle remains as is, and the inside the circle remains as is, and it always looks elevated. Netherton Logie is a prime example where they've had to shore up a wall round about it, which is almost 1.5 metres tall, because that was the inside of the circle was the original height of the field, and as it's been ploughed and ploughed and ploughed, it's been redistributed and lowered the level of the field down. So that could be the case here, and that's why we see at the base of these 7 and 8, it's a wee bit looking like eroded. A fair lean on this one, clearly, a bit of a slab, a nice flat face in it, and pointed again. And there's a really nice bit of quartz there. Might have been shaped like that, but a fair crack in here, a bit missing. Could have easily been damaged. And that's us kind of back to the recumbent setting. So again, you've got these kind of big stones, medium-sized stones where my bag is and such. They've been made to kind of shore or protect the circle. These could have easily been the missing stones from the arc on that side. Also, what I was talking about, 9 stains. The 9 stains recumbent is a bit odd because it's a wee bit too... it looks like the recumbent at 9 stains has been shifted in. And here's an example of them in our cairn. So this cairn base is still fairly evident and well established, but the curbstones come round here. There we are there, come round here, and they're not joined onto the recumbent. The recumbent's over here, in front of it, well in front of it. 1.5 metres in this case, in most cases it's 2 metres in front of it. And at 9 stains, the curbstones come right round to the flanker. So this is an example of what was, you've probably seen as a typical example of a cairn curbstones in relation to the recumbent setting. And there's quite large boulders here. I suspect that wasn't part of the original cairn. Some stones here that maybe look like they've capped something off during the excavations. And then this will be the central court. You can see it's quite evident. It's a bit like White Hills, to be honest. You can see there's quite a difference in height between where I'm standing now in the circle stones and then the field down below. So you're quite raised up. This is, although it's maybe say it's a cairn base, there's still a significant part of the cairn here. It might have been only about another maybe 1.5 meters, 2 meters tall overall when it was originally built. But yeah, and there's a little bit of evidence of the kind of inner court curbstones here, just round where I'm standing. But I hope you've enjoyed that little bit of a walk through the Eslie the Greater. It's a lovely stone circle. It's apart from the field gate, which can be a wee bit rickety, that you have to kind of just climb over. It's a ladder gate, so it's relatively climbable. Apart from that, it's a nice stone circle to visit. And if you're going to visit Nine Stains, you're as well to visit here, because it's just along the road. So it's a nice little double circle to pick up. And the lesser is just up the hill. And it's actually, interesting enough, it's on the Great Crowns of Stone list of maybe recumbent stone circle. They found a buried, what they think is maybe a buried circle stone flat, which could be a recumbent. So it's on the list of maybe recumbent stone circle. So it's worth a visit up the field. So there's a nice little triple monument visit you could make between the three of these with no bother at all. So thanks very much for joining me on this little walk round, and hopefully that's been helpful.